Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Welcome to the Joe Chaffee Weather Show, and we are in Savannah, Georgia. That's where I've been driving since last night at about 5:30. Not that I drove straight through, but finally got here just a few minutes ago. I was supposed to get here probably closer to 5 o'clock, but stops on the way, road issues with traffic, and I have to tell you, driving through South Carolina at the point where I-95 actually comes down and goes southwest, you're literally driving into a blazing sun, and I have never ever experienced glare like I did coming down late this afternoon. I couldn't wait for the sun to go away. Okay, so we're going to just do a really quick, short live stream tonight. There's not a whole lot of weather going on, but at least we could set things up for what we might be seeing for next week and a little bit beyond that. Just want to give you a heads up for Sunday, the Sunday morning show, which we had to reschedule last week, Coffee with Joe Chaffee. That will be on, at its regular time, probably, well, I'm sorry, regular. No, we're going to move it up. We're going to move it up to 9:30 a.m. on Sunday. Okay, 9:30 a.m. because I have to be out of this hotel room by 11 to head for my next stop, which is up north in this state. So don't forget that. Mark it down on your calendars on Sunday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So let's take a look at what's happening tonight. There isn't really a whole, as I said from the beginning, there's not a whole lot going on. We have a series of fast-moving weather systems that have been coming through, and there's another one that is set to come through the Northeast for tomorrow. The surface map tonight, we have a low sitting up close to Newfoundland here, and the gradient is not especially tight, but it was tight enough to produce some gusty winds. You see what's left of a weather front that's moving southward. It's very weak, and there's another one that's out to the northwest coming into the Great Lakes. That is going to head into the northeast for later on Friday, and it might produce a few rain or snow showers with it, but not too much else than that. It should be pretty quiet. In the meantime, across the south and the southeast, it is pretty nice. I'm actually sitting not too far from that high. That is up in northwest Georgia. So the weather on the East Coast is pretty good. Beautiful weather down in Florida. We have a snaking front back through the plains with low pressure in northern Texas. And in the west, it's fairly quiet, although we're beginning to see the lead area of a storm off the west coast pushing into the Pacific Northwest with this warm front that has moved into that particular region. So if you look at the satellite loop tonight, again, not too much happening. You have this fast jet along the Canadian border and moving into that is hanging in the northeast. So we've been getting these weather systems coming through that have been relatively dry, and on the upper left, you can see the storm that's out in the Pacific getting ready to come in, and also some moisture rolling into Southern California. Snow-wise, not too much happening. There's going to be a little bit of lake effect stuff going on tomorrow in parts of upstate New York, and also with that cold front, you can see a large area of the state away from the southeastern corner, of course, in a 1 to 4 inch range, a couple of fives showing up there near Syracuse, and on up into the east shores of Lake Ontario, which is where you would expect it. And in New England also, maybe a coating to an inch or two. That's got to be a mountaintop that's got the 5 there up in northern New Hampshire. Also, a little bit of snow being indicated. This is through Friday, 7 p.m. I think I can go out further. Let's extend it a bit further. So much of this is for tonight and Friday up in the northern Great Lakes, so 1 to 2 inch affair. And actually, when we extend out the snow map to Sunday, 7 p.m., this again is going to be with the cold front that comes through on Friday. The lake effect numbers actually pick up Friday night into Saturday morning with some 3 to 5, 4 to 7 inch amounts in some areas. Again, I think Syracuse is going to be favored in this, and the eastern shores of the southeastern shores of Lake Ontario, probably getting into some of the heavier bands. Also in southwestern New York State and elsewhere. Taking a look out in the west, we have with the next weather systems beginning to roll in here, seeing some big snows possible in parts of the Sierra Nevadas and some bigger amounts up in western Wyoming and on up through the state of Montana. But we don't have anything really major here with regards to weather watches and warnings. We have we have winter storm warnings up in the Sierra Nevadas out in the west. We've got some winter weather advisories up in the northeastern corner of the state of California and into Oregon. Also some dense fog advisories there. And a very small area of winter weather advisories in northwest New Hampshire, northwest Massachusetts, and in southern Vermont. Radar right now, not really all that busy. A little bit of activity coming off the Atlantic here with the front that went through earlier, and now we're seeing some of the snow showers that are moving up in the northern parts of the Great Lakes. A little bit of rain shower activity running into Tennessee and Arkansas and southeast Missouri. Not much there. A little bit more in West Kansas and in North Texas, and then out in the west. Seeing a little bit of activity up into parts of Northern California and just beginning to see some echoes popping up on the radar just off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. So as far as where we're going over the next several days and into next week, it's quiet with this high moving out. We do have a weak cold front that's coming through. Hang on, let's back it up first. That's for later next week. So let's back it up. So there's our front for tomorrow, which really doesn't do much. It's an area of snow that moves across upstate New York and out. Then you get a little bit of lake effect at night into Saturday morning. Some showers moving across the southeast with this, not producing a whole lot. And then that moves out offshore. High pressure builds in over the weekend. Looks great here in the east. But you're already seeing a southwest flow. Oh, good God. Come on. Where is it? There's my web paint. So you're already seeing this southwest flow here setting up Sunday afternoon from the plains on up into western New York. So warmer air is coming, and that's going to get in here for next week. And also, we're getting some moisture coming in from off the Atlantic and off the Gulf of Mexico that's going to be moving northeastward during the first part of next week. So a gradual increase in clouds and showers. Looks like we're going to have some showery rains here on Monday. Low pressure runs up through the Great Lakes, some snows in parts of Iowa. Doesn't look like this is going to be a big snow producer because the low actually deepens after it's already moved into Canada right over Lake Huron. So some past model runs were having this fairly deep in Illinois and Indiana moving northeastward, but it looks like it gets going a little too late. But we've got 2 rounds of solid rain coming in here into the east. One on Monday, and you see it here, and then the second one that follows on Tuesday, and then the rain just shuts off Tuesday night, and it turns much colder for Wednesday and Thursday as the next high builds in. And this may set up something for late next week and into next weekend. I would not pay too much attention to the run-by-run shenanigans that the models are doing here because you look at some of last night's model runs showing snow all over the place. Now it's rain all over the place. I think really what this is going to boil down to, as it often does, we'll do a quick upper air analysis here. We've been telling the story of the split flow, and this is our jet stream today, and the flow still remains pretty split here in the Pacific. You've got a trough at 160. You've got this southern part of the jet with these weather disturbances moving along it. You also have this northern part of the jet with a Canadian connection and some colder air, trough at 160. Troughing in the east, but it's kind of on the flat side because you do have this high that's sitting out south in the Gulf of Mexico and in the Northwest Caribbean. It's kind of keeping that trough from diving all the way southward or digging southward. Also, we don't have a block. You notice we have lower pressures up in Greenland and near Labrador as opposed to higher pressures like we had late last week. We don't have the 50-50 low, so we've lost that part of it, but we still have this split intact in the west. And what it's going to come down to with systems down the road is timing. You're going to have short streams coming down, short waves coming down in the northern stream, short streams coming down in the northern wave, short waves coming down in the northern stream, short waves coming down in the northern stream, and you're going to have an active southern jet running weather systems across. So how those jets time out really is going to determine what kind of weather we're going to have here. It does look as if rolling back, you have this, here's our trough in the east this weekend. It just comes and goes. It's very flat. It actually starts to see a little bit of ridging here in the East Coast. And as the GFS shows you, let me run that again here. Just trying to play catch up here with my head and been in the car all day. But there's your weekend, okay? Trough in the east pulls out. Another system comes in the southern part of the jet stream. And on this particular model run, first off, you have our system for Monday night and Tuesday, and that phases pretty far to the west. You see it here. It phases out along 90 degrees west. So your northern jet and your southern jet are coming together here, so that's why we're getting all this warm air shooting up the eastern seaboard. On the other hand, you've got this long flow, long Canadian connection on the backside, big ridge up the west coast, and you still have that troughing out at 160, the longitude of Hawaii. Now, that lifts out, and now we're going to have the same question again later next week. You've got another shortwave trough in the southern jet. You have another shortwave trough in the northern jet. And on this particular run of the GFS, you see it kind of phases there to our west, but the model seems uncertain on how it's going to handle this. Looks like it wants to drop part of that energy down into the southern stream and then lift it up the east coast as we move into next weekend. It's a long way off. And right behind it, by the way, is another system right in here. So you've got this, you've got another one behind it. And what's interesting to me is that you still have this trough at 160, which it seems to want to stay there so far in the last month or so, and that's kind of important because that trough at 160 does have a tendency to signal a trough in the eastern part of the United States. The only other thing that's different this time around is the fact that up in the North Atlantic, you have a bunch of lows up here, so you don't really have any blocking. So without the blocking, what you're going to need to have happen is that northern jet and the southern jet have to stay separate, and there would have to be enough room so that you have a low that goes out to our south, and at the same time there's cold air that comes in. It would have to time perfectly with regards to anything that snow lovers might be looking for around the middle part of the month. But overall, it's a very active pattern that we're seeing for later next week. That seems to be a given. Either way, it's just a matter of trying to work out the details of the puzzle that we have in front of us. Okay, just a quick hello to everybody. I know I'm going to keep it short here. I see the chairman is on, which is always good, and of course Javon Perry is here. Charlie Baker, I think Chris Alley is here. Shelly Man Studios on board as well. We've got a nice little crowd, but I'm going to end it here at this point because I'm going to go have dinner, and I'm going to have dinner with my daughter. So have a great evening. We'll have a regular live stream tomorrow night, and we will have live streams over the weekend. And again, that Sunday morning coffee with Chaffee show, we will do it, but we're going to start it at 9:30 Eastern time. All right? Have a great night, everybody.